I've been trying to solve the same problem for 5 years. And I knew that if I worked with you, I would solve it. And so basically that I've always had a really hard time promoting myself and knowing um like what to say about my business and my coaching practice that connects with the right people, the ideal audience, right? To avoid trying to get people who are not a good fit for me, whatever that means. And then being able to put my information and my story out there. And I was also dealing with the fact that I don't like putting myself out there. It is something that I try to avoid at all costs. Um, I don't post on LinkedIn very often, but that's where my audience typically lives. So it's a real missed opportunity for me because I don't know what to say.
Mm,
That's the problem. I don't know what to say. I don't know who I am as a career coach or why I'm any different from anybody else and what even to put out there. It's so confusing. So that's
makes
where I was.
makes sense. What do you feel was the thing that helped you the most with us working together?
So much of like my life I've lived that I could
Yeah.
describe and tell people about. There's so much of what I do for a living. There's so many different kinds of clients I've had, right? You helped me take all of that, remove all the excess and the static and the noise and funnel it into a streamlined system to help me know what to do. But then, like, also, you kind of have you do this Jedi mind trick where you have me do things and then you just like, that even if I don't know what it's supposed to mean at the end of the day, right? So you have me do something, and then I realize how impactful and why and important it was after the fact.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you also help me not labor over my perfectionism like I want, like I tend to do. So like we started a podcast like what like 2 weeks after we started working together, if that.
Yeah,
And
around
I didn't
July.
feel ready. I didn't feel like I felt like I was, "No, I have to do all these other things first. I can't launch a podcast. What are you talking about?" And you're like, "Okay, we're just gonna hit record now. Let's just do it. Let's just do it." Do you remember that? I'm
Yeah.
like trying to talk about it and saying
You're
what do
like,
I
"Let's
want.
plan it and let's spend so much time, mind mapping it and coming up with all these detailed topics." And then
Exactly.
you're gonna be okay, it's just me, if you don't like it, we'll just delete it.
Yeah. But the cool thing is that you did also give me a framework to
Yeah,
think about this stuff. It's
yeah.
not just that because I worked with somebody before that just did not work for me
Mm,
because I thought he was going to be helping me like develop some of my ideas and put kind of, like some guardrails around them or just some categories and organize them better. But he's just like, okay, go start talking. And I'm like, what am I supposed to say? Like, I don't feel like I even have my thoughts together.
yeah,
And he's like, no, it'll be fine. Anyway, and so I feel like you did give me that roadmap to put my thoughts together and at least know what are the topics and the important things that I need to cover in this podcast. It's not just stream of consciousness. So
absolutely.
that was really helpful.
Did you find this story approach helpful? Like, do you feel that going through your story helped you get clear on the types of clients you wanna work with and, um, how you wanna be perceived by your audience?
First of all, it was incredibly cathartic to go through all of these things and then to be able to connect the dots between like things that happened in my life, throughout my life and why I made decisions to do what I want to do now and why I'm good at what I do now. I think that there's a lot of what happened throughout my life that makes me good at what I do now. And I think that I needed to know that. I needed to connect those dots. I needed to be able to tell that story in a more robust, rich, organized way, not just like throw a bunch of stuff out there. You ever seen people do that? They just like
Oh my
throw
god,
a
yeah.
bunch of, like, really raw information out there, and then you don't really know what to do with it.
Yeah.
But so working with you, it helps to connect the dots and create an organized story that people can follow and understand and connect with, and then make me realize that all I have to do now is talk about myself, right? I mean, talk about myself, but in the context of what people need to know about me to connect with what I do.
Yeah.
I think it's just really hard for us to make sense of ourselves in a lot of ways. This is why people have therapists, they have coaches, they have, friends that help them get perspective, whatever. Like people need to be able to have an outside party to listen to you and to make sense of your story because it's too much. There's just too much in there. How do you know what's the most important thing?
Yeah. It's tough, for sure. And then, what made you decide? Because you were saying that you've been trying to like solve this for the last 5 years. Well, what made you decide to reach out to me specifically and not someone else? What do you feel is unique about me versus other, service providers? Because we both worked with so many, right? You
Yeah.
could have gone to maybe a business coach, or you could have gone to another marketing agency or anyone else. Why did you decide to come to me personally?
Well, I did all that.
You did.
I did. I worked with like, I thought I was solving the problem by hiring certain people in the past who didn't really know me and who hadn't really been there, but I was secretly always waiting and hoping that at some point you would be able to help me, and there you were. Seriously, seriously, I'm like because I had been seeing you do this with my own eyes
Yeah.
for years now.
Yeah.
I saw you do it with your career coaching clients. I saw you the way that you worked with your career coaching clients, it was like as a brand strategist.
Mm,
Like you didn't do it necessarily from the sort of traditional mold of like, here are all the steps to be, to be a career coach. You broke that mold and you did it. You used a lot of storytelling techniques. You also um, have put a lot of your own story out there. So you modeled this for everyone. And
yeah.
I am sitting here kind of on the sidelines to this, feeling like, God, it would be really nice for people to really know me. And I don't know I don't even know like how to go about doing that. But you've done a really good job doing that. And I was just kind of, hoping that at some point you were going to stop working with individuals and start working with businesses so that you could, so that I could hire you.